Expo in Dubai and the launch of Climate Smart Cities Challenge, or as we say in Swedish, hej och välkomna, which means hello. I'm Per Granqvist and I have the great privilege of being your host during this exciting launch event. Cities hold the key to the climate-neutral future. More than half of the world's population live in cities, and cities are the global economic engines and leaders in technology and policy development. In short, it's in cities where everything action happens. However, the current climate crisis exacerbates global problems like rising inequalities, lack of affordable energy-efficient housing, limited mobility options, and food and energy insecurity, and more. The Climate Smart City Challenge harnessed the creativity and the innovation of innovators all over the world in order to work with cities to help achieve global net zero and create a better future for all. That's what we mean when creating a better future for all within planetary boundaries means. Launched jointly by United Nations and Sweden today, we hope this innovation competition will accelerate the shift to climate-neutral cities by empowering innovators and communities to collaborate in designing and demonstrating solutions and thus reinventing cities as we know them. I also like to take this opportunity to thank all the partners that made this competition possible. The Swedish Engineering Association Teknikföretagen, Viable Cities, and UN Habitat, together with a long list of partners. I'd also like to point out that the challenge has received generous funding from Vinnova and the Swedish Energy Agency. It's now time to hand over to the Executive Director of the United Nations Human Settlement Program, the UN Habitat, Mrs. Maimouna Mood Sharif.
Colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased to see the launch of the Climate Smart Cities Challenge, an important initiative for UN Habitat and our partners. Unfortunately, I could not join you in person as I am currently at the COP26 in Glasgow to discuss cities and climate change with the world leaders. We can see the effects of the climate crisis all around us, with extreme weather events, forest fires, and natural disasters affecting many parts of the world. Cities are at the heart of many challenges we face. They are responsible for around 70% of all greenhouse gas emissions. But cities are also the key to the solution. If we get our cities right, we will bring down emissions globally and have a better chance in realizing the sustainable future that we all aspire after. Cities need to take climate change seriously and significantly reduce their carbon emissions while improving their resilience and adaptability to climate-related disasters and consequences. Now is the time for action. Innovation is crucial to the transformation of society that is required to meet the ambitious targets set out in the Paris Agreement, the New Urban Agenda, and the Sustainable Development Goals. The Climate Smart Cities Challenge is a city-based open innovation initiative that invites technologies, businesses, and investors to develop, test, and scale climate-smart solutions that help cities reduce their climate impact. Our ambition is to identify hundreds of innovative solutions that can help cities become climate smart. My team in UN Habitat's Innovation Department has been working for the last 9 months with cities of Bogota in Colombia, Curitiba in Brazil, Bristol in the UK, and Makindia, Sasabago in Uganda to gain a deep understanding of the climate challenges facing them. These 4 cities are fully committed to reducing their climate impact and stand open to work with innovators to address their climate challenges. Some recent works include reducing emissions from urban flight in Bogota, creating climate-neutral neighborhoods in Curitiba, innovating to create green building material in Mackendie and finding new financial models to produce green and affordable housing in Bristol. I'm going to follow this innovation challenge with great interest and look forward to seeing climate solutions that emerge from it. UN Habitat is committed to working with the cities and innovators to test, implement, and scale up innovations that can help us reach a green urban future. Before I close, I would like to extend a special thanks to our partners, Viable Cities, Vinova, and Technic Fortegen for providing the funding that has made the Climate Smart Cities Challenge possible. Thank you.
That was Mr. Maimouna Mood-Sharif of the UN Habitat speaking to us from Glasgow and talking about the importance of acting right now. The first step to solve problems is to be specific. You cannot solve general problems with general ideas. That's why the competition is focusing on reducing the climate impact in 4 very specific cities. It's Bogota in Colombia, it's Bristol in the United Kingdom, it's Curitiba in Brazil, and Makindye Sabagobo in Uganda, while creating a better future for all. And up to 80 finalists, that's 20 per city, will be selected in January 2022 to work closely with the 4 cities and to learn more about their challenges, collaborate on solutions, and ultimately form teams to demonstrate solutions in real-world environment. And there's cash into this as well. The winning teams will share up to 400,000 euros to leverage further investments and build towards system demonstrators in 2023. But let's now turn to these 4 cities and hear them present the challenges they face themselves. We'll start with Bogota in Colombia.
Bogota has a real challenge when talking about fright. We have approximately 2,000 deaths per the pollution that we have. Local pollution in Bogota is a major concern. We have freight transportation as a major cause of this local pollution. So here we are at Bogota working really hard in trying to find solutions. That's why we want to invite you to participate in the Smart City Climate Action from UN Habitat. We want to find new business models. We want to find innovation. We want to find technology that can help us find different solutions for cargo and freight transportation. We have approximately 70,000 moves day to day, trucks that are coming in and out of Bogota, and they're contributing, of course, to greenhouse gas emissions and to local pollutants. That's why we're asking you to have innovation, to bring new business models so that we can contribute in this challenge, so that we can contribute in climate change, in local air quality, and of course, mobility solutions. Thank you very much.
A lot of lorries in that video. And to sum up, the challenge is to improve freight mobility and reduce congestion-based greenhouse gas emissions in Bogota. We'll continue to hear, this time from Bristol in the United Kingdom.
Welcome to Bristol. We're a city in the southwest in the United Kingdom. We're here to tell you about Bristol's challenge. I'm Tom Renhard. I'm the Cabinet Member for Housing Delivery and Homes at Bristol City Council.
And I'm Jessie Wild. I'm the Deputy Project Director for the Bristol Housing Festival. Along with Bristol City Council and the Bristol City Office, we submitted a challenge around low carbon housing.
We're aiming to build 24,000 affordable homes by 2050 to help us address the climate emergency and the housing crisis that we're facing. However, we know that in the first 25 years after a new home is built, it produces some 150 tonnes of CO2.
So we're looking for innovative business models, ideas, suggestions, services in a way that's going to help us to create new financial models and new systems that will enable us to build more new, low carbon and affordable housing in Bristol starting in 2023. So if you've got a good solution, we want to hear from you.
To sum up, to contribute to a new model for delivering affordable carbon-neutral homes in Bristol, that is. Next up, Curitiba, Brazil.
Eu sou Rafael Greca, prefeito da cidade de Curitiba, no sul do Brasil. É com alegria que nós nos dispusemos ao desafio de até 2050 zerarmos as emissões de carbono na capital do Paraná, na minha amada Curitiba. O desafio está lançado e nós contamos com as ideias inovadoras de vocês que aí em Dubai estão formulando políticas públicas para nós termos um mundo sustentável.
I like the groove in that video. But to advance new models for creating zero carbon neighborhoods in Curitiba, that was their challenge. Last but not least, Makindye Sabagabo in Uganda.
I'm one official from Makindye Sabago municipality, which is one of the fastest growing cities in the Greater Kampala metropolitan area, with a rapid population growth of 10% per year. The city faces a dual challenge of increasing greenhouse gas emissions from residential houses, coupled with acute shortage of affordable housing, projected at 189,115 units. There is a need to develop scalable, affordable green technologies and models to accommodate the growing population sustainably, either through retrofitting existing housing stock or building new model homes that are climate smart. Key areas of interest for innovators include energy, waste management, building materials, manufacturing processes, water systems, and holistic designs. The necessary regulatory framework is in place and even land for innovators to test ideas and prototypes. I call upon all stakeholders to support this bankable project.
So they are looking for solutions that could sort of prove and help them do scalable ways to develop zero carbon, energy efficient, affordable homes. Thank you all to those 4 great cities. And as you can see, an interesting aspect of all challenges is that they strive to be climate neutral and sustainable, socially sustainable at the same time. That's what we mean when we talk about having a good life within planetary boundaries for everybody. Let's now reflect on a challenge such as this one and the impact it can have. And I'm now going to pop a few questions over to some great minds on Zoom. So joining me now are Olga Kordas, the Program Director of Viable Cities, which is the largest government-funded innovation program in Sweden with a focus on helping cities becoming climate neutral. Claes Wåhlberg, Director General at the Swedish Engineering Association. Swedish Engineering Association, Teknikföretagen as they're called in Swedish. Priscilla Negreus, Manager at the Climate Policy Initiative, a global think tank on these issues, and Tommy Mikkelsen, Director for Structured Finance at the Swedish Export Credit Corporation. And you can see the names behind me at the moment. I'm starting to call up all Mrs. Olga Kordas here. This is a challenge in line with the mission to create climate neutral cities to 2030. Tell us more about why a clear mission is important in innovation.
Thank you, Per. And the missions are important because clear and also ambitious goals help us to create a common direction of joint effort from cities, academia, companies, industry, and civil society organization. And in order to achieve a mission, we should create a portfolio of prototypes and tests in many cities instead of focusing on one single solution that fits all. This is totally impossible because of all the unknowns and known unknowns of the future. So I'm so happy to invite innovators, innovating companies and organizations to participate in Climate Smart City Challenge, because together we can create a unique environment for development and learning with a goal to scale up and mainstream promising solutions for cities to become climate neutral and socially sustainable.
Why do we need to have several ideas? I mean, sometimes, not at least in Sweden, we think there should be one solution, but once there is no one solution, is there?
No, we don't know actually. So as I mentioned, so we have those unknowns and known unknowns, and that's why we need to test different solutions. Also local context, many solutions in cities are context dependent. So solutions maybe that fits here in Stockholm would not fit in Bristol. However, when we're learning together through those learning platforms and dialogues and meetings and those connected portfolios, then we can find out solutions that could be scaled up and also adapted in many cities.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Olga Kordas for Viable Cities. Mr. Wåhlberg, as the head of the Swedish Engineering Association Teknikföretagen, what technology is needed to reach the goals of these 4 cities, should you say?
I would say that there are several technologies needed. I mean, the whole palette. There are already proven technologies in place. Now the challenge is to combine these proven technologies into new patterns and new forms suitable for the environment where it's working. An environment is not only the physical environment, it's also the human resources side of the environment, the appreciation of technologies, how it's implemented and how it's being utilized and how it's being developed further in the local content, so to say. So we have the hard facts of the technology, but we also have the soft side. And here we talk about the business modeling side, which is very important. One needs to look into a whole new set of what we refer to as total cost of ownership, meaning that an investment which might be heavier in the beginning could well pay off over time and being continuously developed. And that thinking is not common practice in parts of the world where we think we can share experiences and we can really grow development and make use of it for everybody, thereby creating the sustainable environment and social sustainability as well for people to enjoy for the future.
Sometimes I feel that people place too much bet on technology. There will be some kind of new technology that will change everything. But if I hear you right, it seems like it's more important that technology experts and at least not finance experts that sort of can demonstrate that climate smart solutions are more financially visible, and then business will solve itself.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying it's not a laissez-faire model. It's really appreciating how the local environment fits with the technology choice. For example, in Sweden, we have district heating. We have schemes where we will feed heating system, hot water into the cities. Now, the same thing works also district cooling. Could that be applicable in certain countries? Yes, if you're used to one solution, it might be well worth developing. If you're not used to it, the appreciation and understanding how the system works will be different. So we will have a whole range of different solutions, technical as well as commercial. But the important thing is it has to be accepted by the users and the stakeholders, thereby creating win-win situations. So we look forward to combining proven technologies with parts of new technology as well as new business model, thereby setting up the solutions for the cities.
Thank you, Mr. Wåhlberg, for joining us. Mrs. Negredios, heading up a climate think tank with a particular focus on finance. I guess you're the right person to ask things about money. So my question goes like this. What can be done to make more money available for these kinds of investments we're talking about here?
Thank you so much, Bert. And first of all, I want to just congratulate all the partners and the cities involved. It's great to see so many inspiring challenges which will certainly increase the amount of opportunities and ideas to come out. So answering your question, we have recently launched a report, the State of Cities Climate Finance Report, which we estimate that $384 billion was invested in urban climate finance globally. This is far below what is needed, around $5 trillion per year. So the challenges that the cities face are many. Like we see a continued capacity constraints from city on the side of government and municipalities, as well as other financial barriers. Of course, the lack of creditworthiness is definitely a problem, with very small proportion of cities, of large emerging market cities, are deemed to creditworthy in international capital markets. So just as an example, 4% of the largest 500 cities, according to the World Bank, are actually creditworthy. And government and municipalities are unlikely to be able to finance a large infrastructure projects due to budget restrictions. And of course, there is a real lack of investment-ready bankable projects. So one of the key findings of our report was that the public sector is still the main engine behind climate finance, but we need the private sector to critically scale investments, and they actually are a smaller share of climate investment annually compared to the public, so around 35%. So leveraging this capital is essential. So I would answer your question based on we need more private sector money to go into cities and actually be able to finance the projects and scale at the scale and at the pace that we need to do it. So because of national regulations, we face some challenges there. A lot of cities are not legally allowed to have access to private funds. So this is definitely an issue that has to be solved. So cities and national governments must work together to find solutions on how private finance can be effectively used. We know that national and subnational fiscal and institutional frameworks must be refined to improve project bankability. So there's a big role of also of institutions and such as viable cities and this challenge itself to actually increase and help cities to create those projects. And of course, improve the quality of city financial data and management system is also very important to private investors, so they're able to understand and make better decisions.
Sometimes
Sorry.
it seems like the private sector talk about the public sector as being inefficient or slow and so on. So what's sort of the importance of having clear solutions that this has been proven in one city, we now want to scale them in another city? Is that a way of doing sort of risk mitigation from a financial point of view that might help unleash the private equity and the private capital that is so badly needed? I mean, we heard about this from Glasgow all week.
Yes, definitely. Of course, I think one of the key issues with private and public sectors is what I mentioned on creditworthiness. So a lot of the cities need to organize that budget in a way that they can prove not only the projects, but that the projects can actually be bankable. So this is a huge challenge for cities, and they actually definitely need support to be able to create those projects. Of course, when you have ideas that were already implemented somewhere else, or they are proof of successes, this helps a lot other cities to implement in their own cities. So that's another reason why I find this challenge very important, because implementing new ideas with new technologies and also new financial instruments in Bogota or in Curitiba or in the other two cities that presented will open up opportunities for other cities in the world that have the same challenges and are looking for investments.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mrs. Nignediros. And now over to Mr. Mikkelsen. The Swedish Export Credit Corporation sometimes act as a facilitator for many financial institutions, you say. Why do you act as that? What's the obstacles you help overcome?
Well, basically, one of the largest obstacles when talking about this, what we're talking about today, Climate Smart City Challenge, is financing and having a long-term partnership with a financing actor such as SEK. So basically, we help large projects internationally when it comes to implementing Swedish innovations, as the previous speakers told us about. and it can be for a very long term. And we do it in collaboration with other institutions globally. That's something Swedish Export Credit Agency has done since the 60s. So we have a long track record of doing so. So basically, we are owned by the government, and we issue bonds globally, and we don't have any refinancing risk. So that's why it's really useful to use our export credit system when implementing large-scale projects like this in various parts of the globe.
I see that you have a picture from the Godfather movie behind you. What would be an offer they can't refuse in order to free up more money from institutions?
Take the question again, please.
I see you have the sort of a picture of the Godfather movie in the background. So what would be an offer they can't refuse if the SAK are to offer finance to the institutions to unleash more money to this transition period?
Well, the offer we can't refuse. I always refer to reference cases and other deals we've done in the history, such as working with Brazil, for example, where we have a long-term engagement, and I mean, we are not a normal commercial bank. We don't do one-off trades or one-off transactions. We are there in the long run, in good times and in bad times, implementing our fantastic Swedish solutions by financing. So I mean, that's a really interesting offer, of course.
The importance of having a good proof of concept. Thank you so much, Mr. Mikkelsen. Now, before we launch this challenge in a few minutes, we just want to stress that the United Nations and Sweden hope that all the solutions that are submitted here, of course, in this contest, will also be applicable elsewhere and everywhere. As a small country up north, Sweden's always known that we can't come up with all of the solutions ourselves. We rely on great input from other people and other countries, from everywhere and anywhere. And the suggestion box is a very Swedish concept to collect submissions. You can see it everywhere in all kinds of situations in Sweden, really. And this is something that will be used here at the World Expo in Dubai to surface new solutions. So we merged the idea of the solutions box with the idea of the birdhouse that is universally recognizable. This is the result. Really cute, actually. So the Swedish birdhouse now can be used for collecting submissions. We will put this up on a lot of pavilions here at the World Expo, and so people can sort of find their ideas and just sort of put them down here, or business cards if they if their ideas are too long to write on a paper. And so that will be animation. If I had an idea, I have no idea. There will be lots of ideas out there. I'm not one of those. For all of those who are not at the Expo, there's of course plenty of opportunity for you to submit challenges as well. The solutions we want from you can be submitted at climatesmart.citieschallenge.org, where you can also find a lot of more information on how to submit your solution. That website is live now, and let me take that address again, climatesmart.citieschallenge.org. We will now launch this competition with the symbolic act of me handing over the first birdhouse, and this is to be done to India, where we know that they have very many well-functioning and really good, great solutions that already been implemented in their cities that I think are ready to be used and scaled elsewhere in the other worlds as well. Because with the large population and many living in cities, India's strategy for lowering its carbon footprint will influence how many other countries see it. And earlier this week in Glasgow, India increased the climate ambitions and is said to have 50% of the total energy consumption by renewable energy sources by 2030. And that's up from the previous goal of 40% because they already reached this in June this year. So this is really inspiring, I think. And India has always been a very important ally to Sweden, with long-standing and close government relations, as well as industrial ties that goes back more than a century, actually. And recently, the creative startup scene in India has been an inspiration and innovation as well as the Indian program of creating 100 smart cities, which is now have a parallel in the European Union. So it is my great honor to welcome on stage Dr. Gunvena Chadha, the director of the India Pavilion at Expo 2020 here in Dubai. A very warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much.
I will now hand over this little box ready for all the great ideas from India.
Excellent. And it's an honor to be here and be part of this very interesting dialogue that you have today. And all I can say is that India is part of it. As you've just mentioned, we have been working towards reaching our goal of net zero emissions by 2017.
The microphone.
By 2017.
Yep.
And working with you, especially in urban smart mobility, clean air, waste management systems, consumer safety. It's great to be part of this, is all I can say. Thank you very much.
I also want to wish you a happy Diwali, the festival that celebrates good over evil. I think it's what a better way to come together and celebrate the common road ahead.
Thank you so much. May I invite you and everyone here for the Diwali celebrations at the Expo at the Dubai Millennium Amphitheatre, starting today.
We're on.
8:30 p.m.
We'll be there.
Look forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So with that, it's time for me to say hey do. Thank you for everyone who attended the launch here at the Climate Smart City Challenge at the Swedish Pavilion here at the World Expo in Dubai. And behind me, you can actually see the URL. We can submit all your solutions. climatesmart.citieschallenge.org, that is. So from here in Dubai, hey do.